Somewhere in the ocean, an animal the size of your fingernail is dying. Its body is collapsing in on itself, cell by cell. And instead of death, something else happens. Its adult cells begin turning back into younger cells. Its entire body starts rebuilding itself from scratch, as if it were being born all over again. This is Turritopsis dohrnii. The scientific community calls it, without much exaggeration, the immortal jellyfish, and the trick it performs on its own body has no equivalent anywhere else in the animal kingdom. To understand how strange this is, you need to understand how a normal jellyfish lives and dies. Almost all jellyfish begin life as a polyp, a small, stationary, plant-like structure attached to the seafloor, closer in appearance to coral than to the jellyfish you picture. Eventually, that polyp buds off tiny swimming forms, which grow into what we recognize as a jellyfish, the medusa. The medusa swims, feeds, and eventually reproduces. And then, like almost every animal on Earth, it dies. Old age, injury, starvation, stress. Any of these can end a jellyfish's life. And once a medusa dies, that's the end of that individual, permanently. For essentially every species on the planet, this is a one-way street. You are born, you develop, you age, and eventually your body fails in a way that cannot be undone. Turritopsis dohrnii is the one confirmed exception. When this jellyfish is injured, starved, or under serious environmental stress, instead of dying the way every other medusa does, its body does something that looks almost like rewinding a tape. Under the right kind of stress, the adult medusa's body begins to collapse inward on itself, forming a small, blob-like cyst. From the outside, it looks like the animal is simply dying. But inside that cyst, something remarkable is happening at the cellular level. Fully differentiated adult cells, cells that had already specialized into muscle or nerve tissue or parts of the digestive system, begin converting directly into different cell types. Not by first becoming generic stem cells and then respecializing, which is how most regeneration in nature works. They convert directly, one specialized cell type transforming into another. Biologists call this process transdifferentiation. This is the key distinction. Plenty of animals can regenerate lost limbs or tissue using stem cells. Almost nothing can take a fully mature, specialized adult cell and convert it directly back into an earlier developmental form, restarting the entire life cycle from the beginning. From that collapsed cyst, a new polyp colony forms, genetically identical to the jellyfish that died. That polyp colony will eventually bud off new medusas. The individual that seemed to be dying has, in a very real sense, become young again. And as far as researchers can tell, there's no limit to how many times this can happen. In laboratory observation, this cycle, medusa, stress, collapse, transdifferentiation, new polyp colony, new medusa, has been observed to repeat again and again, with no evidence of a biological ceiling. That doesn't mean this jellyfish is invincible. In the wild, Turritopsis dohrnii dies constantly, eaten by predators, killed by disease, destroyed before it ever gets the chance to trigger this reset. This isn't a creature wandering the ocean for centuries. What's remarkable isn't that individuals live forever in practice. It's that the biological mechanism that causes the rest of us to age and die in one direction appears in this one species to not apply at all. Every other animal we know of has some form of a one-way biological clock. Cells accumulate damage, systems degrade. Eventually, something gives out permanently. Turritopsis dohrnii is the only confirmed case of an animal that can reset that clock back to zero, using its own existing adult tissue as many times as its environment allows. This isn't a cure for aging in any way that resembles medicine. It's an escape hatch, a biological trapdoor that most animals simply don't have. And once scientists confirmed this was real, a very obvious question followed. Researchers have sequenced the genome of Turritopsis dohrnii and compared it directly to closely related jellyfish species that age and die normally. That comparison found differences in genes associated with DNA repair and the protection of telomeres. the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes that normally wear down every time a cell divides, a process closely tied to aging in humans. This species appears to have extra copies, or more efficient versions, of genes involved in maintaining and repairing DNA, precisely the kind of machinery that breaks down as human cells age. None of this means a cure for human aging is around the corner. But research into cellular reprogramming, converting adult, specialized cells back into a more flexible, youthful state, is one of the most active fields in regenerative medicine today, including work that has already earned a Nobel Prize for reprogramming adult cells into stem cell-like states in the lab. Turritopsis dohrnii didn't need a lab, a research grant, or a hypothesis. It just needed a way to not die when the ocean turned against it. And in solving that one problem, it became the closest thing nature has ever produced to a living loophole in its own rules about aging and death. That's the pattern on this channel. Nature isn't decorating the world. It's solving problems, under pressure, over millions of years, with no room for a design that almost works. This jellyfish didn't set out to inspire aging research or regenerative medicine. It just needed to survive one bad night in the ocean. And in solving that one problem, it became the only animal we know of that can turn its own death into a rough draft instead of an ending. Next time, we're looking at an animal that carries thousands of volts inside its own body, enough to stun a horse, using nothing but stacked muscle cells wired together like batteries. That's the electric eel. If you want to see how it pulls that off without shocking itself to death, stay close. If this made you look at the natural world a little differently, you're exactly who this channel is for. Hit like if it changed how you see something you thought you already understood. Subscribe so you don't miss the next design nature perfected millions of years before we ever showed up. And tell me in the comments what you want broken down next. I read every one. This is Designed to Survive. We'll see you in the next episode.